Hot Mike with Dom Izzo.
Really? Really, Dom?
No. I like what Dom's doing.
Okay.
Dom Izzo.
Jeez, come on, Dom. What do you think I am, a magician?
Yeah, I'm fired up, Dom. What else could I say?
Absolutely. It was great to get on the field, and then Dom came up to me, and I'm trying to walk away from me. I just wanted to enjoy myself out there.
Hot Mike.
Great job.
There's got to be some kind of intelligent question about something. Is
Hot Mike. Hot Mike. On the networks of WDAY.
You know, if it's not about sports, I find it very hard to concentrate.
Here's Dom Izzo. Dom Izzo.
Good Wednesday morning. Hump Day edition of Hot Mike on WDAY Extra and Inforum.com. As we are halfway through the week, the day before the day, whether we're talking about the State B or the official start to the NCAA basketball tournament. I know those of you that are fans of the first four would disagree that it started last night, but for many it actually begins tomorrow because then you can take time off of work. People are heading to Vegas to go and watch all the games and bet on them. They don't do that for the first four. They do that for the opening day of the tournament. Morning, everybody. I am Dom Izzo, host of said show. Welcome to Hot Mike on the day, actually, that the NFL year begins, which happens later today. And for those of us that love the game, follow the game as much as we do, especially on this program, it's going to be a busy one. It's going to be a wild one. We anticipate that the Minnesota Vikings are going to make a few more moves. They're going to have to, even what they did yesterday, which we'll detail here all in a second, because they still have a draft class that they need to get under contract, that there are still guys that are on the team that are being paid a lot that I don't think are going to be there later today. I just think it's economics there. I mean, might be in over my head talking about that, but we'll wade into those waters. We are still on Aaron Rodgers' watch, and I will tell you, folks, I know that people that watch the national shows, I'm not going to hit you over the head with it. I'm just going to tell you, if we hear anything when we're on the air, we'll pass it along. As a fan of the New York football team, not named the Giants, I'm a bit sick of it too. Like, just tell us what's up. There's another story out either this morning or late last night. I read it this morning that the Packers may want to drag this on to the draft. God help us there. We are still 7 weeks out from the NFL draft. I cannot do any more of this. I mean, I watch ESPN because it's informative to me, but it's too much now. We have nothing else there's talking about. And there's a lot of good sports stuff going on. Even in the NFL, there's plenty going on. So my PSA here, we will pass it along if there is news to report there. We mentioned as we get set for the boys State B, we'll chat about that coming up on our show as we have all week. Could be a really historic weekend for Central Cass. The Squirrels, who already won the girls' Class B championship, now enter as the number one seed on the boys' side and are unbeaten. Boy, what a twofer that could be before they move up to the new Class A. We'll discuss that before we say so long. And as we mentioned, in the heart here of the madness, we're going to get one last visit on a Wednesday with Bison head coach David Richman will join us as he has all season long on Wednesdays at 10 to pretty much put a bow on this season. And now as we've entered transfer portal season that officially began on Monday, where things are at with his team. I know he's probably on pins and needles this week because this is the week when we've talked about it, where there are whispers that become louder than that become overtures to say maybe you should play somewhere else. We'll dive into that with Dave coming up later on in the show. But we'll begin with a busy day for the Vikings. It was capped off late last night with the reports first coming from NFL Network that the Vikings made a move on a corner, signing Byron Murphy from the Arizona Cardinals to a 2-year deal. This is a good move for Minnesota. Murphy, 2 years, $22 million, likely taking the spot that Patrick Peterson had, ironically enough, since Peterson came from Arizona to Minnesota. Now here comes Murphy from Arizona to Minnesota. course, Peterson moving on to sign with the Steelers. 25 years old. He was banged up a bit last year, but adds a spot where the Vikings desperately need some help on the back end. He had this scoop and score earlier this season in the win over the Raiders, overtime winner. That was a big-time play. He played 9 games last year while dealing with a back injury, had 4 interceptions and 12 passes defensed in 2021. He played 22.3% of his coverage snaps in man schemes last season. That's according to Pro Football Focus. He was the first pick of the second round in 2019 out of the University of Washington. This is a smart move for the Vikings, and Kwesi Adofo-Mensah adding for Brian Flores his really first piece on the defense of going on the outside to get. And for a guy that can make some plays, and especially in a secondary, the Vikings were just bad there last year, and they're counting on their 2 guys that they drafted a season ago to be healthy and play in Lewis Cine and Andrew Booth. Booth expected to be ready for training camp. Of course, Cine is recovering from the compound fracture he got in the game against the Saints over in London. I mean, it's going to be a young secondary, but Murphy gives them some stability there on the back end of a team that was just bad. I mean, they were playing Duke Shelley in major minutes and major snaps at the end of the season last year. They picked him off the street. So that was the last of the big moves yesterday for the Vikings. It preceded a couple others here, including bringing back Greg Joseph, the kicker. Now, you can lament this all you want. Joseph, though, who missed his fair share of extra points, and I said this during the season, he was clutch, though. He made this. He made a 61-yarder to beat the Giants. He was 22 of 23 field goals inside the 50. Now, remember, there was a stretch early in the season he didn't make one beyond 50. He finished 4 of 10 from beyond 50 yards, including you saw that 61-yarder. He had the game-winning kick against the Saints, the game winner against the Commanders, the game winner against the Bills, the game winner there against the Colts in the record comeback. That alone gets you another deal. It should. The fact that he had that many kicks, you can say, well, why are the Vikings in so many close games? I get you. But every time, at the end, when he was needed, he delivered. That's a clutch guy, and that's why you get him another deal. So that one makes a ton of sense to me there. Also yesterday, the Vikings re-signed Garrett Bradbury. That one might be interesting to people. 3-year deal worth up to $15.75 million for their starting center. Guy that they drafted in 2019 out of NC State. I think everyone's lasting memory is going to be of what the Giants' defensive line did to Bradbury, literally pushing him into Kirk Cousins in the playoff game. But what were you going to do? How much were you going to have to spend on a free agent? More than that. And Bradbury had his moments, I think, in the late part of the year, certainly where he was better. That means all 5 starting offensive linemen are under contract through at least the next season, according to the Star Tribune. Ezra Cleveland is a free agent in 2024. That's big. I mean, obviously the Vikes have had such a merry-go-round of trying to figure out their offensive line that's a big deal. They also re-signed Andrew DePaula, the long snapper, who was an all-pro this year. You want to talk about why Joseph was so good. The guy snapping in the ball was tremendous. DePaula, along with Ryan Wright at punter, Vikes special teams was really good all season, I thought. So DePaula gets a new deal as well. The big headline, though, is centered on the quarterback, obviously, because the Vikings and Kirk Cousins restructured his deal to allow for an extra $16 million of cap space yesterday. Now, this is going to get in the weeds for people that don't follow the NFL contract stuff. And be honest with you, folks, it makes my head hurt on trying to figure this out. I'll try and explain it as best I can. They converted his salary cap figure by turning part of his salary into a signing bonus, going from $36.25 million to $20.25 million. That's his salary cap figure for 2023, while also adding 2 void years onto his current deal. So now, Cousins is set to be a free agent after this coming year. There has been no talk of extension. The last time that Cousins restructured his deal a couple years ago, the Vikes added a couple years on it. That is not the case here. Now, you remember Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah said at the Combine a couple weeks ago, obviously from their side, they want it as certain as possible. And from our side, we want some flexibility. They have clearly gotten that. They got the space to get under the cap. But as I mentioned off the top of the show, I'd imagine there's still going to be some more moves to come. Simply because the Vikings still have to sign their rookie class, which I understand doesn't have as much money as veterans, but they still have to get under the cap. From the Star Tribune story, by adding void years for 26 and 27 onto the deal, which already had void years for 24 and 25, the Vikings can prorate the roster bonus over 5 years and count only $4 million of it against the 2023 cap. I mean, this is a deal here. If the Vikings are going to say, all right, we're going to play this out and let Kirk play this as a walk year, so to speak, and then try to sign him to a long-term deal or extension, another 3 years. I mean, Cousins has done this before. He did it in Washington. I mean, he's played under the franchise tag before as well. But you look, obviously, his numbers were not nearly as good as they were in 2021. He's 35, and I think it's probably about time they start looking towards the future at this spot. Does that mean the Vikes go and use their first-round pick on a quarterback? I don't think that's going to happen. But if it's a day 2 pick, it wouldn't surprise me. They have to have some sort of succession plan here. Nick Mullins is not the guy, even though I know they re-signed Mullins. That's not the long-term solution here for Minnesota at the QB spot. But that's an intriguing deal that went down yesterday, that they didn't add anything onto that. Should not alarm people, but just be open to that. Understand what the Vikings are trying to do. Kyle made a cool graphic here for us to show all the Vikings moves and what potentially still is down the road here. So you look at here of the additions, obviously the Marcus Davenport signing from the Saints. That was a biggie there. They added Josh Oliver. They re-signed Hicks and restructured him. We saw DePaula, Joseph, Bradbury, and Al Murphy. Kendricks gone. Peterson gone. Thielen gone. Dantzler gone. And I still think Dalvin Cook and Zadarius Smith are not going to be on this team. Now, the deadline is 3 o'clock today to be under the cap. I would still imagine I still think today is going to be a busy day for the Minnesota Vikings. Might be wrong on that, but I would anticipate there's probably still some more stuff to happen here. You still got to get your draft class signed. I think all of us were under the mindset anyway that Dalvin wasn't going to be here. I think Harrison Smith too. But if Smith goes, you have literally no experience on the back end. Smith at least provides a little bit of that. So we will follow that as well. Going to be an ongoing storyline today. We are packed on this Wednesday morning. Big guest lineup coming up for you. Drew Trafton will be back with us here in studio. We'll get his thoughts on what's going on the NFL free agency few days here. The merry-go-round that it is coming up here in just a few minutes. At 9:35, Matt Ellingson will join us, the head coach of the Spud Boys basketball team. They play tonight against Brainerd in the 8-4A semifinals at home. Chance to get back to the section championship game Been a good year for the Spuds, who finished second in their section. That's coming up at 9:35. At 10 o'clock, one last time in his usual time slot, Dave Richman will join us to put a bow on the 2022-23 season, where he saw his team grow the most. They've started, as documented, 3-11. They finished 16-17 and make it to the Summit League Championship game for a fifth straight year. That's coming up at 10 o'clock. And at 10:35, Central Cass AD Travis Lemar will join us. Fellow Jet fan as he is, we will try to abstain as much as we can from any Aaron Rodgers chat and discuss, of course, his school, his boys basketball team heading out to Bismarck, and the girls now 2 weeks removed from winning the state championship out in Minot. So high times there out in Castleton. So plenty happening here on this Hump Day edition of Hot Mic. We'll take a break. We're off and rolling. Back after this on WDAY Extra and Inforum.com.
Biggest Seahawks, Sounders, and Mariners fan in the FM area. It's time for Views with Drew.
I'm Dom Izzo. You are?
Oh, hi. Yeah,
I haven't seen you in like
Trafton,
2.5 weeks, man. How you been?
Good.
Yeah?
Yeah, I mean, it's great being in this third month of January. How are you?
The 12th week of January is just going awesome, man.
Yeah.
Couple things here I want to visit with. We didn't talk about this in the first segment, but for you Twins rubes out there, the Diamond Sports Group, who's the parent company of Bally Sports Networks, officially filed for Chapter 11 yesterday, which we knew was coming.
Oh, wow.
That's who Bally Sports North. I don't know if you followed this story.
I haven't.
This has been going on for a bit. That owns all the regional networks around the country. I think it's 19 separate ones, including Bally Sports North. MLB, put out a statement saying if the said network can't handle the game, MLB will pick it up. I have not heard anything from Bally about that. Dick Bramer is set to begin his weekly appearances a week from today. I'm not sure how much he's going to be able to speak on it. We will certainly ask him, but it is a tenuous time for baseball fans. I know the Mariners are not under the Bally deal. They're under AT&T.
They're on a regional network called Root Sports.
Yeah. I think it's AT&T now, I think. They got them out of the Root deal. But, I mean, it's more than half of the MLB teams have deals with that.
Yeah.
And that is a large chunk of change those teams count on for their revenue is their television deals.
Massive.
So it's a huge story going on.
Right. And I mean, that allows baseball to kind of function as it does day to day, because obviously, Tuesday noon games and stuff like that, you're not drawing a massive crowds out there to stadiums.
So it says nearly half of Major League Baseball teams alone have their games broadcast on a Bally network, and for the time being, that will not change. Major League Baseball, as well as the NHL and NBA games, will still be broadcast across the Bally RSNs. Now, it's not that big a deal for hockey and basketball because we're near the end of their regular season.
Exactly.
And then the entire
13 games left. Yeah.
And the entire postseason is televised either on cable or network.
Right. They don't even have
baseball.
Those contracts.
Baseball. We're just starting here.
Yeah,
I mean,
we haven't even gotten going yet.
Right now, ESPN and TBS and Fox have all scaled back their national baseball coverage to give more to
the regional
the regional ones. So I mean, that's a big deal. And already it's a hard up because there's so many people that have cut the cord that I've talked to here that can't watch the Twins because they're not available on YouTube TV.
Yeah.
They're not available on Hulu. And Bally hasn't made a deal with MLB, Bally Sports North,
to carry.
So you can't watch the Twins. If you wanted to buy Bally's streaming package, you still can't watch the Twins that way.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It is crazy. And, I just, and I don't know why my initial reaction goes here, but I mean, think of all the changes that baseball has made heading into this season to make it more palatable to a television audience, because that's why they're doing this in a larger sense, is because they want to speed up these games. They want to make it
and now nobody can be able to watch.
Yeah,
hilarious.
And the fact that Major League Baseball's already come out with a statement shows you that this is something that MLB will be taking seriously. But
what a mess.
Wow, that's interesting. It'll be really interesting to hear what Dick Bramer can say about it, and what he knows about it, because he honestly might not know much about the situation, because they probably keep those guys fairly inoculated to that sort of stuff. But wow.
All right. Inoculate is a great word. Segue to our next topic, because I'm done on the Aaron Rodgers stuff.
Okay.
I just am. I just make a decision.
I was going to ask. I was
I'm done with it. Well,
Scale
I
of
wasn't
1
a
to
fan.
10.
I don't want him there anyway.
Yeah.
But
okay.
now it seems like the Jets, because we can't get Carr,
Yeah.
can't get Garoppolo. That was
Right.
my guy. I wanted Jimmy G. So now it's either Lamar Jackson,
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers, or Zach Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. That's what's left. They literally have put all their eggs in this
Or
basket.
you could leverage your future in the draft.
Mike
and
White's
move
even
up.
gone. Mike
Yeah.
White went to Miami. I'd take
Yeah.
him. I mean, honestly, at this point, and I understand
Matt Ryan will be out
Matt
there.
Ryan. Yeah, let's go
Dom.
there. Good God. Carson's out there, too.
He
We
is.
could go that if we
He
wanted
is
to.
out there.
I just, at this point, and now the story is out that the Packers may prolong this all the way to the draft.
Right. Yeah.
Are you kidding?
I saw that when I
Like-
woke up this morning.
I am interested that no one has made a move on Lamar. That to me is odd. I know
Yeah.
he represents himself. So the story, he tweeted out that he turned down, was it 155, I think it was.
133 or
133,
something.
okay.
Yeah. So it would have been, I did the math on it when I saw the numbers,
Yeah.
and it's like 43 a season, guaranteed.
And he turned that down.
Yeah, which is a pretty decent
So
deal.
as I understand it, if you're to get him, you automatically have to give up 2 number ones.
Yes. And that's it, which isn't a huge price to pay. I mean, look at the previous quarterback
Well,
packages.
no,
and
if you're talking
trades,
about the Stafford deal,
Yeah. That's
even
a
what
drop
the,
in the
what the
bucket.
Bears just did with Carolina for
Yeah.
moving up to the number 1 pick.
2 first-rounders for a 25-year-old
I would do
MVP.
that. I would do that before I
Makes
want Aaron
sense.
Rodgers.
Yeah, well, and you'd pay less potentially too, in terms of, and who knows what the trade compensation package is, but even just looking at your salary cap structure, I mean, the hit's going to be guaranteed money. So that's going to really factor high into your salary cap situation, but it's Lamar Jackson.
The Jets gave a 4th-round pick to the Packers for Brett Favre.
Mm-hmm.
If they give up anything more than that, why would you do that?
Yeah.
Rodgers,
Well,
we're in the same boat here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, if the Packers are looking for 2 1s for Aaron Rodgers, the Jets just say, take a hike. No
Yeah.
way.
I don't think it'll be that high of a price. I know that's what they were seeking,
Yeah.
but I don't think it'll be. I'd be surprised if it ends up in that neighborhood.
Just the guy is just like, he said he was going to drag it out. Here
Yeah.
we are. You know what I mean?
Well,
The start of the league year.
I think all of the periphery moves at this point are almost like, I mean, every sign is pointing this way. Like, you
Yes.
don't, like Lazard.
Yeah.
I get like Lazard's a legit
Yep.
2-3 receiver, in the league on,
Going
on,
with
on
him
the
and
Jets.
Garrett Wilson?
Yeah,
I'm all right
he's,
with
he's
that.
a 2. The Randall
Cobb?
Mercedes
Yeah,
Lewis, like
right.
that like, I mean, does that add value to your
No.
team? Probably not, and one of the best tweets I saw yesterday was something to the effect of, Aaron Rodgers saying like, I can't, like, Green Bay doesn't give me the weapons I need to win. And then, turning around to the Jets potentially and being like, I need these exact weapons I had in Green Bay to win. It would be interesting. But I see it from his perspective too, where, like you want some familiarity in the building, like some rapport. Because it's not guaranteed he's going to have that with Garrett Wilson, right out of the gate.
Well, we saw how it worked with his rookie wide receivers this past year. I thought Watson and Dobbs were pretty good.
They were,
as the season went along in Green Bay.
Yeah, I mean, the Jets have the talent, though. There's no doubt about it.
Well,
and, it'll be interesting to see the McAfee thing too today. Like, what?
Right, he's supposed to be on today, right?
And I would not put it past Aaron Rodgers to go on there and just kind of like wax poetic and then say nothing.
Right.
Like that very well could be the case. But the public perception that's out there and the pressure that puts on, and maybe that's what Aaron Rodgers is doing, is trying to put pressure on the Packers or the Jets to speed this thing up.
Just retire and be done with it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You had a great
so
career.
You don't think you're just not on board with this at all?
I think it's because I do not like him personally. It is affecting my professional judgment of how this could help the Jets. It really is,
Yeah, I mean, because where do you think they stack up in the AFC
If Aaron Rodgers
East?
is on the Jets,
Yeah,
they're right with Buffalo, I
would think so too.
Defensively,
And if it clicks, I mean, look, okay, so we've seen
I think
this
they're better
work.
than Miami.
We've seen this work with Matt Stafford.
Yeah.
We've seen this work with
And
Tom
then it
Brady.
flamed out. And look what the Rams have. They went 5 games last
But Matt
year.
Stafford was not the picture of health before. Like, that's
No.
why I was so hesitant when he came on board
Yeah.
to kind of like, are the Rams for real?
He's been beat up a lot.
You're
right.
like,
Yep.
and now look at, the Rams have totally like combusted all
right.
of a sudden. But the Bucs, it worked. And like, people forget that second year with Tom Brady, like they were like a play away, in that
Correct.
divisional round from running the
If you don't,
thing back.
if you don't let Cooper Kupp get behind you, you win that game.
And I think they probably matched up pretty well against the Niners that year in the NFC
they were going to host
game.
the Niners in the NFC Championship game.
And then you get the Bengals in the Super Bowl again. I could see, they weren't that far off.
Yeah.
Like, that was a pretty successful pairing.
I don't know. I hear what you're trying to do. I personally have no time for the man. So
yeah. I also think it's kind of funny, as a fan of an NFC team, like looking at the quarterback talent that's just been leached out of that conference. Like, who's the best quarterback in the NFC if Aaron Rodgers leaves? Is it Jalen Hurts?
Yes.
I think so. Is it a healthy Matt Stafford?
No.
Not with that roster anymore. It's like, where is it? I think you could even make an argument, and this seems asinine to me.
Your guy?
No, Justin Fields could be
that's
emergent,
Fields up there.
And we don't know a lot about Justin Fields, but I think from
NFC
a potential standpoint,
Daniel Jones might be in the conversation, which is kind of crazy to say.
Exactly. A healthy Dak Prescott, you can make an argument for, but Jalen Hurts and Dak Prescott are in the same division.
Brock Purdy could be in the conversation. That's kind of wild.
And we have such a small sample size on that guy. It is crazy.
What have your Seahawks done? Have they done? What do you like?
So after the Niners lost in the wild card round, Pete Carroll was asked point blankly, "What's the biggest difference?"
Yep.
And he said the front seven.
Mm-hmm.
And what we've seen them do is they've cut Shelby Harris, they've cut Jefferson, they've signed
Quentin Jefferson and Shelby Harris that I go.
Jones from the Broncos, they will this afternoon.
Draymond Jones,
which is huge. They never make a splash play in free agency. They're always in that second, third wave where they try to find those value guys. And I think this is tipping their hand to what they're going to do in the draft. Could they still draft a quarterback at 5? Absolutely, because that Geno Smith contract is very team friendly, and he could be a palpable cut. Next year, the year after that.
You lost Rashad Penny. Is that a big deal? No, not so much.
The dude played 11 games, or he started 11 games in his 5 years in Seattle. So it's and they've got Ken Walker now, and so it makes sense.
Right.
What they're doing is they're getting younger, faster on the defensive line, and they're looking at run stoppers because they did okay pass rushing last year. I think they ranked 5th in sacks, which is huge. So you know what? Like, this reminds me of like that 2012, 2013 NFC West where it was an arms race between Seattle and San Francisco. I think we might be entering into another version of that.
Yeah, and the 49ers went and signed Javon Hargrave,
which is huge.
Stud.
I mean,
look Eagles,
at and the rich get richer on defense, but I think Seattle's starting to do that again, build that younger, faster, stronger defensive model.
Let me ask you this before we go, because the Vikings restructured on Cousins, but voided 2 more years, which means he can walk after this year.
Right.
There's been no talks on extension yet. I'm on board with that deal, honestly. What they did, let him play it out. Kirk's been fine when he's done that. And honestly, his play last year, he was okay.
Yeah. He bets on himself.
But they have to find a young quarterback. They need to do that.
I think they're going to be sneaky players come April.
Draft somebody?
I wouldn't be surprised. Like, I mean, you've got a front office that's making moves. They seem to be moving in some direction. Like, they seem to know what they're doing.
Yep.
I
think they're going to make some more moves today. I think some big names are going to be let go today.
Yeah.
I'm convinced of that.
And there's, they're going to have some space to make some moves, but they're also getting younger. They're looking at really solidifying that defense. Quarterback. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
I think that they could be players.
The Bears made a move
April.
to sign David Montgomery. Or the Bears let him go to Detroit, which I thought was interesting because that Jamal Williams was the guy with the Lions.
And with all this Vikings talk, with Dalvin Cook and everything, Jamal Williams might be an interesting addition there, I think, in the NFC North if there's just this carousel.
It's funny to me, we got to go, that here we are, the NCAA basketball tournament officially starts. I know it started last night, but it really starts tomorrow. And it's just wiped
Major
off
League
the map.
Baseball is on the precipice
and baseball's
of starting.
done its own thing, but NFL,
NBA playoffs are just about there.
Yep.
NHL playoffs are just about there.
Just wiped off the map.
But what are we talking about?
Wiped off the map, man.
Yeah. I mean, like,
they know what they're doing.
The hope of spring training, that hope springs eternal.
Yeah.
is now
with
concentrated with the NFL draft.
It is.
Almost, if your team was not in the Super Bowl,
Yep.
guess what your Super Bowl is now?
Yeah.
Like it is
It's free agency and then the draft.
absolutely.
Yeah.
All
Yep.
we're talking about is Aaron Rodgers today. And as soon as that's settled, all we're going to be talking about is Lamar Jackson. That's just, it's incredible how much space the NFL can eat up. Incredible.
And they're going to expand to another game, and it's just going to keep going longer and longer.
Yeah.
It's just, they know what they're doing.
They know what they're doing.
Great seeing you, man. Thanks for coming by. Appreciate it. Drew Trafton joining us each and every Wednesday here at 9:20. We'll take a break. We come back. Big night tonight over in Moorhead. The Spuds will play in the 8AA section semis. Boys head coach Matt Ellingson will join us when Hot Mike returns on WDAY Extra at Inforum.com. Don't forget, we've got doubleheader basketball tonight here on WDAY Extra, the 8AA semifinals, live from Detroit Lakes. Hawley will face off against Thief River Falls, followed by Barnesville and DGF. 8AA semifinal games tonight, 6 o'clock on WDAY Extra and WDAY Sports Plus. We'll also bring you the championship game Friday night from DL, 7 o'clock. A long-time tradition of the 8AA tournament on WDAY continues tonight. Also tonight is the 8-4A semifinal. Thanks to Mother Nature and then, I think, township elections, we couldn't play the Spuds game until tonight, as the Spuds are back home in the 8-4A, semifinals with a chance to get back to the section championship game. Moorhead will face off against their rivals from Brainerd. It's great to see boys basketball head coach Matt Ellingson back with us here on a Wednesday. I'll date myself. I covered Matt when his Spuds team went to state. Gosh, that was 11 years ago, man. That's crazy.
11 years ago. Time flies.
How special was that team? Tell me about that. Because I know we reflected last year when you guys made it, but that team to get over the hump, win on the road like you guys did up in Bemidji, how big a deal was that?
Yeah, I think any time that you are able to play deep into March, it's a tremendous experience, and getting to experience this now as a coach, as I did as a player, March truly is a magical month for anyone that loves the game of basketball, and to go on the run that we were able to last year and get a chance to play in the Target Center was an experience our kids will never forget.
I wanted to ask about that, building off of what happened last year. How much is that kind of carried over here to 23?
I think there's just an expectation that in our program, we want to gear up and play our best basketball in March. And we understand how rewarding of an experience that was to continue to practice and continue to play games with each other. We want to extend our season just a few more days, and that's our message. And so I think, learning through that and going through that last year has definitely kind of laid the foundation for this year as well.
I know you can't do anything about Mother Nature, but when you saw what was coming for Saturday, like, all right, we got to stay engaged here for 4 more days before we play.
Yeah, and working with high school kids, there's pros and cons, but we were ready to go on Saturday, and we'll be ready to go tonight. But just finding ways to keep things light, keep things fresh, keep them excited, getting to be back in the gym with their buddies, and we had to wait a few extra days, but I think we'll be ready tonight.
Now, you've just played Brainerd not that long ago, end of February, a couple weeks ago. You won that game here in Moorhead. How much you take a lot from that game, or not so much?
You definitely learn anytime that you play somebody, especially when you only played them about 2.5 weeks ago. But anytime you play in March, as we've seen already, crazy things happen. And so it was a very, very tight game all the way through. Brainerd has an excellent team. They're 22-5. We're going to have to play really, really good basketball to beat them for a second time this year.
You went and played some teams again down in the Twin Cities, which I know every Moorhead team wants to do, needs to do. Describe the scheduling philosophy of that, Matt, and what that got your team, how tough that made your team now at the end of the season.
Well, we firmly believe that, we need to schedule high-quality competition, and our kids need to see some of the best players and best teams in the state of Minnesota, but also in the state of North Dakota. We had the benefit of playing all 4 Class A boys semifinalists, Red River, Century, North, and Davies, and then as well with the Twin Cities schools. And so we just think testing our kids early and often prepares us for March.
All right, so you saw that North team up close. Did you see that? Was there potential you saw of them winning the whole thing?
I thought there were a couple teams on the North Dakota side that had the chance to win it, but, credit to Fargo North. They played great basketball when they needed to. They have some exceptional athletes. Travis did a great job getting them to kind of all get on the same page for that last weekend, and credit to them. They had quite a run. It was fun to watch as a basketball fan.
End of the season, so your regular season finale, you're at St. Michael, and you play 3 overtimes. Now what's the longest game you played as a player? You remember?
Well, when my senior year, we had a double overtime game, at St. Michael Albertville in the section quarterfinals. So anytime Moorhead goes to St. Michael Albertville, just plan for a few extra minutes. But yeah, it was a long night, a long game, but our team got a lot of good, valuable experience playing in close games. And I truly think that helped us when we had our section quarterfinal game.
When you have a game like that, I mean, coaching-wise, when you go to like the second overtime, the third overtime, what are you telling the guys, if anything at all?
I think it's just it's remaining consistent and finding an approach that we think as a coaching staff is going to help us in the next couple minutes, and getting our kids to believe and buy into that. But also understanding that, we just need to take a moment and breathe and take a breath, because at that point we had kids playing a lot of minutes. And so just letting them sit and get a drink of water and kind of compose themselves, and then go in with a message for the next few minutes.
I know, Matt, on the outside, people will watch Adam Jenkins play and know he's going to go play his collegiate ball with the Dragons next year. How have you seen him elevate his game, knowing after he signed in November to take it to have you seen him take it to the next level this year?
Yeah, Adam has been such a joy to coach over the last few years, and the biggest growth that we've seen from him this year is just his growth in leadership and his willingness to always put the team first. His role has remained consistent with us in terms of we need him to be a big guy, but he also has the ability to step out and shoot the ball occasionally at times. And his growth in leadership since he was a freshman, sophomore has just been tremendous, and I can't say enough positive things about that young man.
How often is he get doubled every time? Most of the nights, is he seeing that?
Yeah, he sees a lot of bodies, and at times that can be a challenge for our group. We have to find ways to kind of exploit that. But then also, there are times when he doesn't, and he's got to just go strong and make a play to the basket.
For a game like tonight, this might seem like an obvious question, so I apologize, but is a quick start necessary in a game like tonight?
I think the easy answer is to say yes, but honestly, like in March, anything can happen. I think you need to be the group that's more composed for 36 minutes. Watching Minnesota Duluth on the men's side the last weekend, they won 3 games in their Central Regional, but in 2 of them they were down double digits. And so I think it's finding that composure, that poise to stay solid for 36 minutes, and remember that we're playing a 36-minute game. We're not playing a 5-minute game. And so you want to get off to a great start, but if it doesn't happen, how can we get back into this game and kind of understand where we need to go? I
appreciate you bringing up Duluth with Justin Wick's team, who won last night, and they're joining the Duluth women going to the Elite Eight. How big a deal? I've talked about this, and I know I've talked about it with you about where the level of basketball is high school-wise in Minnesota. To have a collegiate team reach the Elite Eight, what does that say about the strength of Minnesota hoops right now? Wick's team is made up of, I think it's 10 out of the 13 guys are from Minnesota.
There's a lot of really, really good basketball in this region, and it's put on display last weekend at the North Dakota State Tournament. It'll be put on this weekend at the girls' Minnesota Tournament, and then in a week and a half at the boys' Minnesota Tournament. It's just really, really good basketball, and there's probably a handful of teams from that Central Division II region that could still be playing in the Elite Eight. The NCAA just schedules it in terms of regions, and so Duluth came out of it, but there's probably 3 or 4 teams that still could be playing, because that's really, really good basketball in that region.
To be such close to playing, how much do you think that has helped for your relationship with the guys, that you're not that far removed from actually being in their shoes?
Yeah, I think it benefits in some capacity, because I'm able to share some stories and share some perspective of my playing days. But at the same time, we try to remember that this is their experience. This is not mine. This is their high school basketball experience, and just to try to help guide them and to lead them through the ups and downs, because in any sport and in any season, there's going to be times where you're playing well and times when you're not. And just being there to be able to relate with them and understand, like, yeah, we went through this, I went through this, I think can be valuable.
Do they believe that you played? Do they know that? Do you have to tell them, hey, I actually played?
Each year it gets a little bit. But it's fun to be able to get in the gym and be in the gym where I practiced and I played, and we're getting a new gym, pretty soon here. So fun memories in this gym.
I was going to say, now with the new high school coming, tell me about just the excitement of that, and I'm sure you've got an early look at what it's going to be like. What do you think? How that will change Spud basketball games going forward?
It's going to be a tremendous facility, and the people that have put time and effort into it, Mr. Halgo and our school district representatives, they've done a tremendous job, and we're really excited to get that facility opened up at some point next year, and to start playing games in there, and to host big games, and to just have a really, really cool environment for Spud basketball. But at the same time, there's been a lot of great memories in the gym that we're playing in currently, and we hope to provide one more really cool opportunity for fans tonight.
All right, before I let you go, you got to give me a great Aaron Lean story, like a just one that people may not know from your playing days. You got one that comes right to the top of your mind?
Oh, man. Aaron, I'll just say this, is a tireless worker. And from the standpoint that every time that we stepped in the gym, this is not really a funny story, but every time we stepped in the gym, and I mean every single time, and him and I, we went in and worked out a lot together. Every single time we stepped in the gym, he went right to the front of the rim, and he started with form shooting from about 2 feet away. And I still use that with our kids today. Like, If this is good enough for the all-time leading scorer in Moorhead boys basketball history, it's good enough for us. And so it's a credit to him for the time and effort that he put into making himself just a tremendous basketball player.
It's pretty good, man. You were pretty good, too, as well. Not too shabby there. I always appreciate the time. Good luck tonight. Hopefully we get to see a Spud win, and we'll talk to you again soon, okay?
Thanks, Dom. Thanks for everything.
Good to see you, bud. Matt Ellingson, Moorhead boys basketball coach, Spuds and Brainerd coming up tonight, 6 o'clock over at Moorhead High in the 8-4A semifinals. If they are able to win that, they'll move on to the section championship game, play the winner of Buffalo and Bemidji. That game will be Friday night as we figure out now the boys' Minnesota State basketball tournament. The girls beginning here later this morning down at Williams Arena and the Pavilion. We mentioned yesterday the Perham girls will end a 32-year drought tonight when they take the floor. So we're quickly approaching the end of the winter sports season. Crazy to think that with the boys State B in North Dakota and Minnesota girls and the Minnesota boys coming up here over the next 10 days. It's going to be fun to see how that unfolds. We'll take our final break. We come back. Bison softball got another monster win against an SEC team. We'll show you that. And update everybody on our Hot Mic Bracket Challenge. There's still time to get in. We'll do that. We wrap up our first hour right after this. All right, wrapping up our first hour. Here's a stat for you that will make our next guest shake his head. According to the website verbalcommits.com, which follows, obviously, verbal commitments, most notably in basketball, 400-plus names now listed on the 2023 Division I transfer list. 400-plus. They had 153 guys go in on Monday, on the first day of the portal could open. And again, I think people know where I stand on this. I am completely in favor of athletes choosing where they want to go. If they don't like their situation, that they can leave. But there needs to be, and hopefully now the numbers are starting to come out where people can get information that there are so many people, and I'm going to say guys because it's not necessarily happening as much on the women's side. There are so many guys that are going in, getting bad info, and then not finding anywhere to play. I'm not talking Division I. I'm talking Division II, Division III, NAI, nothing. That they end up being done. I mean, it's scary out there. And that's the part that I think needs to be reiterated quite a few times over on our show and for people that are interested to see what's going on. I mean, it's just, yeah, there's happy endings where people can go and like a Sam Greasel, but that was almost like, I want to say premeditated, but that was arranged, which, by the way, is tampering. I don't even know how you prove that, but that goes on. But that happens more often than probably people want to admit. That they go in and there's no spot for them. Just wild. Let's show you quick here before we wrap up our first hour, and Dave Richman coming up around the bend. Bison's softball team was playing a rescheduled or a new game against Mississippi State in Starkville, Mississippi yesterday. SEC team. And Bison offense got going early on. Staked to a 1-0 lead in the fourth inning. On an RBI single here from Rihanna Root to make it a 1-zip Bison lead. They'd add another run later in the sixth inning here to go up 2-zip, which the way that Paige Vargas was pitching yesterday was more than enough runs for the Bison. Mississippi State, by the way, is getting votes in both polls. They're just outside the top 25. Vargas was great. A one-hitter, struck out batter after batter after batter. She was great for the Bison yesterday. Finished with 7 strikeouts. NDSU goes and beats Mississippi State 2-0 the final. Bison now are 14-10 on the season. Having a really nice year as Darren Mueller's team. They're supposed to play a game up on the north side of Fargo on April 7th. I don't know if that's going to happen. That's their first home game, which is supposed to be here on Extra. We're hopeful that is the case, but we need some snow to go away before, even on the turf field, we need some snow to go away before that can happen. Good win yesterday, though, for Darren Mueller's team. We're due for a break. We come back. Dave Richman will join us. We'll start hour 2 of Hot Mic and wrap up the Bison men's basketball season. Back after this on WDAY Extra and Inforum.com.
This is Hot Mic. Hot Mic. On the networks of WDAY. Here's Dom Izzo.
Welcome back, everybody, on this Wednesday morning. Hot Mic rolls on WDAY Extra, Inforum.com. We'll get our full preview of the boys' Class B coming up. Central Cass is the top seed. We'll visit with AD Travis Lemar coming up as the girls have already won the State B. The boys trying to complete the double starting tomorrow. You'll see all the games live on WDAY. It is Wednesday at 10 o'clock, which over the last 4 months, our next guest has been gracious enough with his time to come on, harass me about my outfits, timing, anything else. But it's been a pleasure to have Dave Richman on our show each and every Wednesday, and he joins us here again. I know under the circumstances you'd want to be playing basketball right now, so I appreciate you coming on. And you spent 4 straight days with me, so we needed a break after our time in Sioux Falls. So I hope you got that last week.
Yeah, sometimes you just have to resort to last ditch efforts, and and I mean it's just slightly below playing in the NCAA tournament is just getting to hang out with you and do these together. So, by the way, what happened to the montage?
Oh,
you didn't laugh.
Okay, my producer's gone. He's out in Bismarck, so I can't do this without it. Like 8 people helping me, so he didn't.
This is not good. Doc. This is not good. I'm going to start coaching right now because I am
excuses, right?
I'm a body language guy, and you're going palms up and blaming your producer, right? Great leaders take responsibility and own it.
Yeah,
right?
It's my fault. Yeah, it's totally on me there. You've had a week now to think about it. Tell me, I know you're going to tell me we don't go to finish second in the tournament or finish third in the league, but I had people come up to me, Dave, and say, boy, I think Dave got everything he could out of this basketball team. Now a week removed, do you have that sentiment, or what do you think about the 23 basketball team?
Yeah, I mean, again, here's me continuing to be me in the transparency. And I think it's like this, Dom, is this has probably been, and I said it after one of the games in the press conference, it's been a very, very rewarding year. And my father told me parenting is the most challenging and rewarding thing you're ever going to do. And I think you get those rewards from the challenges. And the number one thing I will say to everybody, whether it's staff, players is the character integrity was through the roof this year. There is a wonderful from Stephanie Whitman, the late she's with us, to all of our guys in the program. It was a lot of fun to be around. But I mean, the youth and the inexperience and the non-conference schedule and the travel and some of those things, like, no, I'm not an excuse guy, Dom, but when we played, go back to the Pacific game, when we played Kansas, we don't fly out of Kansas City ultimately until like midnight that next day. We get in 4 or 5 vehicles and drive back to Fargo from Minneapolis and get in at, like, I think I dropped the guys in my vehicle off at 4:35 a.m. and then we're an afternoon later, we're playing Pacific, right? And those things, I don't want those narratives out there because everybody's going through something, but there was just a whole bunch of those things. And you go right before, I remember the locker room after St. Thomas and right before break, and I was frustrated, and you're leaving those guys for that, and you wonder, like, how are they going to come back? But because of the character and integrity, we just hit a process, won those 5 in a row after break, hit a little bit of a bump. I thought, we didn't handle that success greatly. But I'm very, 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 very pleased in a rewarding season yet. Like, and I do good until anytime I see something about an NCAA tournament, then I get that little pit in my stomach, and it's just like, man, just with my wife last night and those games in Dayton are on, and you're rehashing that week and how much fun that was, and things like that. So again, rewards that you're looking for, also that little bit of empty feeling, right? Like you and I were talking about off air here. It tells me I'm still doing the things that I want to do, right? You're still striving for that.
It's funny you bring that up because I was going to ask you, have you watched the games in the past when you're not part of the tournament, or you say, you know what, if we're not in it, I'm not watching it?
Yeah, and it's been fun, especially one of our twins, Ellie. Like, I'm a junkie, Dom. I mean, she knows a lot about college. It's amazing, and it's just on in our house all the time. It was a couple years ago. I don't know if this is a good parenting moment or bad. Like, our house is kind of a story and a half, so it's open. And Brindley says, "Hey, Dad, can you turn a game on? So that she has that noise to fall asleep." So yeah, it's on. I'm watching it all the time. I don't know, you pick up something here, or just how I grew up in a family of a football coach, and just around that competitiveness, and I mean, it's just who you are.
With the games in Dayton last night, invariably I thought obviously of your game there 4 years ago, and people will say, well, that's not really the tournament, but I know you had a great experience, obviously because you won, but the experience around it, they treated you, I remember you telling me this, that it was big time because it was their Super Bowl there.
Tell SEMO that they're not in the tournament.
Right.
You know what I mean? I guarantee you, Pitt and Mississippi State felt a lot better than, no offense, but like a Villanova or a North Carolina who, it's, hey, man, this is it. And I don't care any way, shape, or form how you get there. I'm not going to get into how many people the numbers of what the tournament field should be.
Yeah.
But right now it's 68, and you're one of those 68, and how you get there and all that stuff. Like, man, just be proud and enjoy it. We got to make so many negative things out of everything.
When you look back at how the game played out with Oral Roberts last week, was it just they were, and I know you said it after the game, they were ready to go from the minute the game tipped off? What would you do differently? Obviously, I know what you would, but is there anything you would do differently about how that game started last week?
I think you go back and, it's about finding a way to be a 1 or 2 seed, going in there. That's, that's the regular season piece is a big kicker. I do go back at the end of the day, you kind of are who you are. And, we did spend a lot of physical and emotional energy the night before.
Yep.
And then, I said it, how about this? And I think you probably saw the tweet where Oral Roberts' starting lineup is older than the Oklahoma City Thunder. Yeah. So I think theirs is their average is 22.4, and we did our average. It's a 19.6. It's almost they're almost 3 years older than we are across the board. And I do vividly, and this is it brings a pit in my stomach. But the year with Tyson and Vinny and those guys, I'm telling you, all through the year, some of it wasn't fun, right? I felt like you were pulling the guys, right? And you know, but they had the taste of the NCAA tournament. That's all they wanted. And, you know, you get them to that game and boom, I didn't do a thing, right? Just sit on my hands and they just exploded. And you could tell, you know, we did some game plan things to maybe, you know, stop some other guys, and that opened some windows up for some other guys. And I mean, yeah, in hindsight's 2020, there's a couple of things we go back and do some of the adjustments we made in the second half, do those earlier. But, you know, sometimes at the end of the day, like, right, that's just, you run into a buzzsaw.
12th seed is about what you thought they would get. Is that no surprise when you saw the bracket come out?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a reality check for me at the end. Yeah, I mean they won 30 games.
I know.
And they're only at 12. But I mean, I don't dive into it, you know, any more deeply to see like, hey, who should they have been higher than? You know, I look at a Kent State, right? They play Indiana. I think they only had 4 losses on the year, and those 4 losses are like to Houston, you know, St. Mary's. They're close, you know, things like that, and they're at 12 seed, you know. So it goes back to it. I mean, you're in the NCAA tournament. You're a darn good team.
I talked about this on Monday because the day after the selection is when the transfer portal can officially now open for the next 2 months. I know this is interesting, nerve-wracking. You can maybe fill in the adjective how you want to describe it, but I know you visited with each of your guys. But is this week one that you don't want the phone to ring? You don't want to get a text message? How do you describe this for you handling this with guys that are now off campus?
Yeah, I don't know if I have a great. I think there's something that I heard the other day. Johnny's going to come back or he's not going to come back, right? And Bison basketball with Johnny, without Johnny, with Dave Richman, without Dave Richman is going to go on. And you know, and so spend a lot of time, and I get it, you know, the narratives of everything, but a lot of things hypothetical. Hey, I'm going to sit down and do my job. And, you know, we've had great conversations with everybody. Sometimes, people that think they know more get into different people's ears. Hey, you know, I'm going to control the things that we can control. It's been a very successful blueprint for myself in this program the last 9 years. And, hopefully things continue to work out and move this group in the right direction. If something transpires, like, hey, we got to figure it out.
You don't need me to defend you, but this time last year, I remember people coming on the show or emailing me and said, what the hell's going on with Dave? Like, he's lost 5 or 6 guys. And I told you this, and I told it on the air. Like, this is where we're at with basketball. It's not just North Dakota State. It's happening everywhere. And I don't expect you'll have this kind of turnover this year. But, I mean, then you won the amount of games you won this year. So it's just, I think people still have a hard time, especially an older generation of fans that pay attention to this. Like, what is going on? But this is where we're at.
Yeah, and again, I don't want this to be about Dave Richman, Dom, but I do want it to be about whatever you want to call it, a process, a system, or something, you know, whatever that term is there needs to be respect for that. And that's what I'm most proud of that's happened over the last 9 years is the ones that have stuck around that have had the vulnerability to be coached and want to get better, want to get challenged, want to be loved and cared for. In 7 of 9 years we've been in that championship game, you know, 3 years we've won it. And so at some point there needs to be, and I'm going to say this like this, there needs to be that respect for the process, for the system. And that might be boring at times. It might be cliche at times. But you just hope you continue to make sure you have the right guys that have the right character and integrity, the right humility that want to be part of that process.
For when you have conversations with guys leave, I don't want you to get too much into it because I'm sure you're not going to share a whole lot, but what are those kind of conversations like, the end of the season kind of exit interviews that you have?
You love this. You love this stuff, don't you?
I'm interested. No, you mentioned process. This is part of the process, right?
No, it's just me being me. You know, like I'm not into the term of re-recruit your guys.
Yeah.
We are loving our guys constantly, right? And at the end of it, if it all comes down to your happiness, right, Dom? If you're not happy, then I'm not happy. And if the two of us aren't happy, then it's not going to work out.
Yeah.
And so, do some of the conversations in the past frustrate me? Do they disappoint me? Do they confuse me? Absolutely. But at the end, like, look at this year. Did it maybe hurt us a little bit at the start based on a few guys not? Yeah, probably a game here or there. But I also don't know, and I don't mean this as any disrespect or any offense to anybody that's not here anymore. Do we ultimately get all the way back, to that point? I don't know. A lot of hypotheticals.
I'm waiting for my tape review of how I did this year. When's our end of season conversation? Is that coming up here soon? I have to come up to the office and we'll hash it out how I did this year.
We only have 15 minutes. It's going to take a lot longer. We need to discuss wardrobe for sure. We need to discuss the transition after the game, getting to Logan.
What are you talking about? That was pretty quick, man. I disagree on that one.
Yeah, pretty quick. This is my time. Hey, this is about me here, not about you.
Got it.
There's all those things.
What's like for you on your calendar here for people that don't know? So what's the next next month ahead? What is on your calendar now?
Here, I wait for my wife to text me and tell me what I'm doing, who I'm carting around,
you're picking up,
the dance. I was volleyball dad last weekend. I think I'm theater dad this weekend.
Nice.
No, we've laid out some calendars. Coach Wilker's going to leave for the Wisconsin State tournament today. Myself and Coach Jones will be around at the Minnesota State tournament next week. Sashes will be doing some junior college things. Then there's some visits. There's 2 live weekends in April. There's this week is spring break for our guys. Coach Miller will start to move them around next week, and then the following week we'll pick up some workout stuff. So I remember this. This is great. I remember when I first got the job with Miles, and it was a GA, and like you get hired in like April,
right,
or early May, and I come to campus. I'm like, oh, what do you do in college basketball in the spring? You don't do anything. Yeah, that hit me. That hit me like this is a lifestyle, right? It consumes you, and you're doing something all the time. But it's, I love it. Like I said, it's a little bit of you and I were talking off air. It's an empty feeling. You go from just 100 miles an hour, and it kind of always hits you like from about 1:30 to 4:30, 5 o'clock in the afternoon, because that's the time when you're getting ready for practice. Yeah. That's the time you're practicing. That's the time, like, I know the guys don't love to see me always, but like I enjoy being around them. And so that's the part it takes you probably 10 days, 2 weeks to just get back into a different kind of rhythm and routine.
I got an email here before I let you go to ask Dave, was there any chance for the Bison to play in any of the other tournaments, either the CBI or what else is out there? Can you explain that? Was there any potential opportunity for you guys to keep on playing?
Yeah, we had 0 conversations about it this year. I will say, again, full transparency, I don't want to knock those events. I'm not saying never will I say never. But some of those, I just, the intent of those, I think your guys are obviously, we talk about a vision, and that vision is Summit League championships. And sometimes your guys are in an interesting place. You're seeing that in some of these NIT games. Clearly any opportunity to play in an NIT, we would do that. And like I said, I'm never going to say never to those, but we have high standards and expectations here. We weren't quite there this year, and we're gonna pass on that again this year.
You got a hot team on the schedule for next year you can tell me about that you're trying to work on, or you got
again, I'm just an open book. I'd say we just got done with preliminary budget meetings.
Yeah.
Okay. And Josh Hemingway is always, hey, what's your schedule look like? How much money you bringing in? Come on, where's the money? And what has happened is scheduling's a cluster anyway.
Yes.
And now it's getting bumped back even later because of the portal. People don't know what their roster looks like, and so they want to make sure they know what their roster looks, and so I don't know, poor Josh Sash, right? Like, hey, buddy, go figure this out. And you know, I think it'll be interesting because of the again, what our roster is going to look like next year is going to scare some people. And you know, Duke's not coming to Fargo. I will tell you that. You know, no breaking news like that. Like everybody thinks, like we should just be able to get Duke and Arizona to, you know, but you know what? Here's what Saul always tells me: everybody's always finished the schedule, and we'll get it finished.
I was going to say by Halloween you should know, right? I mean that should be a good time, right?
There were some people like scrambling in August and September for games. Portland's coming back.
Nice. That'll be good. That's a good game, man. That's a really good game.
Yep. Oh gosh, I'm probably going to get in trouble for this, but there's some good conference challenges things going on with the peer league that will really help some things. Really encouraged by that. Trying to think what else I got. That's about it.
We can pretty much say with 100% certainty you're going to not open next year with Arkansas and Kansas or the likes of that, right? You're not going to do that again?
I would hope not. Who was the idiot that decided on that? Or how about that? You do all the schedule and you put it all together. It seems good. And then Wes Offerman comes and goes, "Yeah, God, that's gonna be an interesting 30 days. 17 of them were on the road." I'm like, what? But we're alive.
You know what, man? It was a learning experience, no doubt about it.
It was
a
learning experience, man. Some of those moments you're wondering if your head's above water, but.
You know what, man? I really appreciate each and every Wednesday opportunity to do this. I know we'll talk again soon, but I think our viewers and listeners really got an inside view of your program that maybe we weren't able to provide before. So I really appreciate you doing this, and it was great. And I look forward to doing this again next season, all right?
Dom, I want to say this. Number one, thank you. I know we joke a lot, and we thank you for this, but sometimes there's a narrative out there about, you know, myself and this program about, you know, he doesn't smile, he doesn't do all this. And I'm not changing those things for who are very intense in a competitive natured profession for, you know, 40 minutes, 30 times. But we are an open book. Your listeners, hey, come and hang out with us, come and get to know us, come get to know the wonderful guys that I get to see them and build a relationship with them that gets them back to games. Like this is at the end of the day who we are, who I am, and not just judging on a certain platform in a competitive environment. So thank you very much.
You got an extra spot for me at the Final Four? I'll go with you to Houston, man. We tear that up, man.
I don't even think Houston's a tough place to go. There's hotels are here. The games like
it's not close.
No.
Oh, okay.
I don't even think I'm going to go.
No. Okay. All right. Well, next year.
I got to see if get my bride to come with to somewhere where there's not. You do that too in the car where you got to like drive behind the snowbank and make sure no one's coming, and then I mean these are Fargo problems.
Yeah, it's not great, man. Problems. No doubt. Thanks, bud. We'll talk soon. All right. There he goes. Dave Richman, NDSU men's basketball coach, joining us each and every Wednesday here on the show, and we'll see. You know, I'm of the mindset, I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of movement. Grant's a whole different story. Grant Nelson's off in his own universe there. That, I think, for most knowledgeable fans, they recognize that. The rest of the roster, I don't anticipate a whole lot of movement. Maybe a couple guys, but for those core guys, I don't anticipate. Again, I'm in the same boat that probably Dave is. Like, he's expecting his entire team back. That might be a bit pie in the sky, but especially in the era we live in, I think the core guys, you're all going to see back for the Bison next November. We're way overdue for a break. We'll take one here and get caught up. Travis Lemar is coming up, Central Cass AD, as the Squirrels get set to head to Bismarck later today. Hot Mike back after this on WDAY Extra, Inforum.com. All right, getting caught up on a couple things here. The Timberwolves put an email out labeled Karl Anthony Towns Injury Update. Cat hasn't played since Thanksgiving, of course, with the right calf strain. Says Towns is continuing to progress in his rehabilitation program, has been participating in basketball activities. He's expected to return in the coming weeks, and further updates to his playing status will be provided when available. in the coming weeks. We have, like 3 left in the regular season. Also, from the NFL, a couple of big releases. Darius Slay has been let go by the Eagles. Boy, he was a stud for them. And Kyle shows me here the Cowboys are going to cut ties with Ezekiel Elliott. So a couple of interesting moves there in the NFC North, or East, here on this Wednesday morning on NFL Free Agency Day beginning. We'll break. We come back. Central Cass AD Travis Lemar will join us as the Squirrels get set to head out to Bismarck for the boys' State B. Hot Mike returns right after this on WDAY Extra and Inforum.com. Welcome back, everybody, here on this Wednesday morning edition of Hot Mike on WDAY Extra, Inforum.com. Day before the day as the boys' State B tips off tomorrow in Bismarck. You'll see all the games on WDAY beginning at 1 o'clock with the first game out of the chute, Shiloh Christian against Powers Lake, followed by Beulah and Medina Pingree Buchanan. The night session begins at 6:30 with Warwick against Central Cass, and we're capped off with Thompson against Elax Burlington. It seems fitting on NFL free agency officially starting today. Our next guest is on. He shares the burden of also being a New York Jets fan, while also his day job is the Central Cass athletic director, as Travis Lemar joins me with a fantastic Jets hat. I like that, by the way. That's old school, man.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah,
What are we doing today? I keep looking at my phone. You know where I am with Aaron Rodgers. You know where I feel about this. But right now, it's either Aaron Rodgers, Lamar Jackson, or Zach Wilson. That's it, right?
Yep. Yeah, I mean, going into this thing, I wanted David Carr.
Yeah.
I thought he'd be a great fit. Didn't have to give anything up to get him. Of course, my wife's a Packers fan. Her family's, a lot of her family are Packer fans, and they started making fun of me as soon as the season was over and the rumors were coming out, so I got asked yesterday and today, with everything coming out and him being on the McAfee show tonight or, later today, what do you think? You want him? So you know what? He makes our roster better.
Yeah.
He's an instant upgrade. I don't like the fact that we're caving to his demands and bringing in all these other free agents, but you know what? Something we tell Coach Butler, our football coach, all the time: scared money don't make money. And if we're hosting the Lombardi at the end of the year, I'll like Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah,
that's just where it's at.
That's a good way to describe it. I'm not a fan of him holding us hostage for we got to sign A, B, C, and D. I'm not a fan of that, because I think the roster has been constructed pretty well. I think Douglas has done a nice job with that. Also, I'm not a fan the Jets gave the Packers a 4th-round pick for Brett Favre. There's no way I'm giving up 2 1s. I don't even want to give up a 1st-round pick for Aaron Rodgers, frankly.
I agree. I mean, and I'm hoping that the Packers aren't trying to be too greedy with it, because they realize that if they drag their feet, Rodgers is going to play for them. Love sits another year. They lose Love.
Yeah.
And you have to pay him $60 million. And who are you going to have left?
Yeah.
If you look at the potential of the Jets offense, Aaron Rodgers, Breece Hall, Michael Carter backing him up.
Yep.
Garrett Wilson, OBJ, Lazard, Elijah Moore, and potentially Randall Cobb coming off the bench. Tight ends, Azuma, Conklin, Mercedes Lewis. I'll take that.
I'm okay with that.
I'll take that.
Yep. I'm all right with that.
So yeah.
It puts them right in the conversation with the Bills, personally. They're right there with Buffalo.
It really should,
It's just one way or the other, I want it over with. That's the thing. Just, you know what I mean? The story out today, the Packers could drag this out to the draft. No. We're 6 weeks away from that, man.
Yep. Yeah. I'm sick of looking at Twitter and seeing all the Aaron Rodgers stuff, only to find out nothing has happened.
Nothing is going on. Nothing. Yep. Oh, man. A lot going on at your school. First off, congratulations on a girls' State B championship. We had Jay on right before you guys left. I could see the emotion in him. That was 4 years in the making, Trav. It seemed that it all came out of him that night in Minot a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, when you talk about 4 years in the making, we as a coaching staff have really worked hard on getting our kids to where we're at, and obviously all the credit goes to the kids. I mean, they bought into what we were saying. They bought into the workouts that Butler's putting them through in the weight room and out on the football field and all of those things, right? Like our kids bought into the message that we were saying. We do Sunday open fields, open mats, like everything, and it's paying off. I mean, and like I said to the coaches, like, hey, look, if this doesn't pay off, we're in trouble, because all these young kids are going to see all the work that these kids are putting in, and if it doesn't pay off, they're going to say, why do all this work?
Yeah.
But it's paying off, and I think it's really going to catapult us into the next few years. Like we talked about this winter, and we had the chance to win 6 region titles, 4 in wrestling and the 2 in basketball, and we swept all 6.
Wow.
We got, girls won the state championship in basketball. Boys got a great chance to do it this weekend, knock on wood, all the superstitious things that we as coaches do. But like, I'm telling you, I'm so excited for these kids and everything that they've been through and all the work that they've put in to get them to where they are right now.
For that moment a couple weeks ago to be there and see, especially that girls team 2 years prior in that same building, to lose in the championship game, what was that, even for you? How emotional was that a couple weeks ago?
Oh, it's you can't even put it into words.
Yeah.
I just get choked up right now just talking about it. When we were done, the floor cleared and I stood up in the corner where I stood for all 3 games. And like, people are like, why are you standing up there? Well, because that's where I stood game 1 and we won. So that's where I'm going to stand game 2 and we won. And then I stood there game 3 and I won. And if the boys were playing in Minot, that's where I'd stand for all 3 games as well. But I stood there and just watched our fans, storm the court, parents coming down, hugging their kids, and just all the joy and emotion of what sports can give people is what was on display after that game. And when it all cleared, we were obviously the last team walking out, and it was us and the janitors was basically all that was left in there. And I called Bachman, and he answers his phone. He's like, hey, what's up? Something up? I'm like, dude, I just want to tell you how proud I am of you. Like all the pressure was on them all year. We didn't have a great start. And he kept the girls together. He kept them grinding through the process with the end goal of being the last team with the last W on the board. And just kudos to him and kudos to those girls and everything there. And I hope I get to make the same phone call on Saturday night to Coach Norman, because nobody grinds harder than him.
Well,
he watches more film, and it's awesome.
I wanted to ask you about that, because there have been a couple, I won't say lean years, but obviously Class B in Region 1, you full well know how that's gone. I mean, Kindred's been really, really good there. Describe this elevation here from Matt's team to now get to this spot.
When they both took over their programs, we were one of the bottom teams in the division. Jay's first year, we were getting, we were losing by 40 to everybody. And, same with Matt. We had those down years, and we kept believing as coaches and as staff, and the players kept believing in us, and getting us to where we were, and supporting the vision that we had for our programs. And here we are, and we're reaping the benefits of it right now. And quite honestly, I think we can reap the benefits of it for just going forward. Like, our kids are bought in, our coaches are bought in, our parents are there with us, getting kids doing the extra stuff that they want to do, and providing those services for them. And like I said, we get to see it take place out on the football field or the match or on the basketball court and the track and, everywhere, golf course, it's been great. I look at just travel over the last decade in Region 1, where it's been Oak Grove 3 times, Kindred a few times, Northern Cass at a run, Winemere snuck in there. I mean, it's been almost a monopoly for the top teams. It's been 2012 since Troy's team went there, which is kind of crazy to say that out loud. How much is the community embracing this? The girls have had great success, but the boys haven't been there in 11 years. Yeah, and that's the thing too, right? Like, we wanted one last crack at it. We thought we were going to get 2 years of the B, this year and next year. And, 3 classes coming out next year. So, maybe put a little extra pressure on us to get back there one last time to be part of the, the actual B. And it's, you saw it on a region championship night, man. That Bilkery Center was loaded with red and white. And it was funny because I saw, again, I sat on the opposite side. So it was the same place I sat for all 3 games. Kindred, Kindred blue all around me. And, it's superstitious. It's just who I am. And, WAP Science guys come out and their basketball team's getting ready to clean up. And I see one of them with their phone, scanning the stadium. And I'm thinking, this is the atmosphere that even college kids want to play in.
Yep.
And it goes to the 2 fan bases, right? Everybody there is picking somebody they want to cheer for, and the place was nuts. And our community has come out they're great no matter what it is, right? We've got the greatest fans in the world. They support us no matter where we're at, and they definitely show up this year. I mean, it's been phenomenal.
To have the number 1 seed next to it, how much does that add some pressure? As going in the fact also you haven't lost a game, how much is there? Do you feel the guys have the weight of that on their shoulders this weekend?
I really don't think they do. I mean, I feel like there was probably a bigger weight going into regionals of just trying to get to the state tournament than worrying about being the number 1 and being undefeated, right? Because we've gotten everybody's best game all year, right? We're Central Cass. No matter who you are, you want to beat the big team, right? We're the big Class B school. We all know that kind of stuff, right? There are very few teams that teams cheer for or cheer against harder than us. So we know we're always going to get their best. We know that we've got the big target on our back. So I think our guys have kind of just accepted it and just said, you know what? Yeah, this is what we want. We want to be undefeated. We want to be the number 1 team, and give us your best shot. And we're going to take it, and we're going to shoot back. And I think that's really been what our kids have been. They haven't gotten flustered this year. No matter what the game, no matter how close it is, they've just battled back every single time. And I just so proud of them.
I know Jay told me embracing, hey, let's go and win it. We know it's the last one. Obviously, I can hear that in your voice for the boys to do that. You get a sense for yourself, having been around it for so long and being in the Class B. You take some memories this weekend knowing this is it. Are you going to, take just a moment to soak it in sometime over the next few days?
Oh, for sure. I mean, when Troy made it, I was just the dumb wrestling coach at that time. So I didn't really, get into it the way I have, these last 10 years now. But yeah, I've told the boys, I told the girls, go and enjoy it, have fun, because ultimately that's what it's supposed to be about, right? Is having fun. Absolutely. And enjoying that moment. And that's the same thing I would tell the parents, right? Especially if you're a parent of one of the seniors on the squad, these are your last 3 games, man. You take in every piece that you can and hold on to it for as long as you can, because you may not get this again. If your kids go on and they don't play in college or they don't do anything, this is it. And you're seeing some of those parents that were part of that 12 team. You saw them at the region championship game, and kind of reliving the same moments. And it's what's great about high school sports. It's what can make it so so special at the end.
Do you think, and before I let you go, how we're going to change for next season? I'm interested where fans are going to put their money, where they're going to go. Are they going to go to the new Class A? Or are they going to try out the B? The fans that have no rooting interest, that just I go every year. I'm really intrigued about that for what we're going to go to next year.
Yeah, and honestly, I think it just comes down to what kind of brand of basketball do you want to watch, right? Yep. And then I think that's where it's going to be. I think the new B is going to, I talked to Coach Raisler about this, and he's a basketball savant, right? He's been around Class B basketball for longer than I've been alive, which is a long time. I'm not saying he's old or anything. I'm just saying he's been around a while, right? But like he said, there's going to be those first couple of years in the B. You're going to get some teams that haven't been there for a long time. Yep. You're going to get a lot of support, and even in the A, you're going to get some some people that want to come out and see what it's all about. I want to see where we're at in 5 years, and what the fan base is like at that time. Because 5 years will judge whether or not we made the right move as a school committee, voting for it, stuff like that.
I think it's going to be a good move for everybody.
I do too.
I'm there. You know,
I do too. I mean, and that's why I was part of the committee.
Yeah.
You know, I believed in it. I still believe in it. And I'm hopeful that in 5 years it's still really good basketball and we're still filling up stadiums, because in the end, that's what you want. You want these kids to be able to have that experience, to play in a full gym and people going crazy, either for them or against them, doesn't matter. You just want that atmosphere for these kids.
If you saw your night last Thursday in Wahpeton or Friday and Saturday at the Shack, that's what you're hoping for. That's what you want. You know, that's what you want to see. You know, and that was awesome. That was really good stuff. Safe travels out to Bismarck. If you want to send up the bat signal, if you hear anything on what A-Raj is going to do, I appreciate that, all right?
Oh, I tell you what, you'll be the first one I text, man. You'll be the first one I text.
Thanks for doing this, bud.
What I'm curious, though, is, hey, does he take 12?
Oh, God. He can't. No, he can't. It's Joe Namath's number. No, no, we're not doing that either. It's another reason.
Hey.
That's another reason why I don't want him. You know what? There's only 112.
It'll be the best quarterback we've had since Chad Pennington, man.
There's no doubt about that. Great to see you, man. Safe travels.
You too. Thanks, buddy.
There he is. There's Travis Lemar, Central Cast Athletic Director, also diehard Jets fan. Best quarterback we've had since Chad Pennington. Yeah, Vinny was really good, too. But Vinny was right. Yeah, that's probably right. Let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll wrap up the show. Get you ready. We got a busy Sports Wednesday. It is not a slow Wednesday. We got a lot going on. We'll tell you all about it. We wrap the show right after this on Hot Mic on WDAY Extra, Inforum.com. All right, wrapping up our show here. Reminder of our Class B coverage begins tomorrow, 1 o'clock on WDAY with the first of 4 quarterfinals. Our evening session begins at 6:30 on WDAY. You'll see the consolation games tomorrow on WDAY Sports Plus on Friday, Our coverage begins at 1 o'clock. Semifinal Friday begins at 6:30 on WDAY. You'll be able to watch the 7th and the 5th place games Saturday on Sports Plus beginning at 1. And then we hit the air for the 3rd place game at 6 o'clock. The championship to follow after the Parade of Champions, so somewhere probably around 8:30, 8:45 on Saturday night to officially wrap up tournament season in Bismarck. Going to be a great weekend. Super excited for our crew. They're all leaving today. Some have already left and are on the road. Others leaving after our show. Others still leaving later today. So we'll have you covered as we have all tournament season long. Excited to see what the Class B brings us, the final one that will bring us coming up over the next 3 days. Couple of NFL notes here before we go. Baker Mayfield has a new team. He's apparently Tom Brady's successor in Tampa. According to the NFL Network, Mayfield will sign a 1-year, $8.5 million deal with the Buccaneers. So it's him and Kyle Trask as the guys for Tampa right now. That's the other end of this. If you go and get a high-profile older quarterback like Tampa did, like the Rams did, then you're on the back end where you've got this now is a potential situation in Tampa. Again, we'll keep you updated on any other Viking news happening on our news tonight at 6 and at 10. The Perham girls coming up tonight in the AA state tournament as those games are underway down in Minneapolis. Bison and UND have a couple of commits planned, so we'll keep an eye on them as well over the next couple days. Let's get you ready for what to watch here on this Wednesday. A reminder, of course, also we've got high school hoops coming up tonight here on WDAY Extra with the 8AA semifinals. First game is at 6 o'clock. Hawley against Thief River Falls. That'll be followed by at 7:30, 7:45 with DGF against Barnesville. That's tonight here on Extra. Also, besides that, we've got what to watch for tonight. The Wolves are back on the floor tonight to take on the Boston Celtics. That's at 7 o'clock on Bally Sports North. Big game there with Boston, of course, sitting in second in the Eastern Conference. Wolves sit in 7th in the West. The Minnesota Wild, late start tonight. They've got points in 13 straight games. It's a franchise record. They're at the Blues, who are out of it, but St. Louis owns Minnesota. 8:30 tonight on TNT. And, of course, the first 4 continues tonight on True TV. For our guy Kyle, don't forget Puerto Rico and the Dominican Republic in the World Baseball Classic tonight at 6 on Fox Sports 1. Thanks to our guest today, Drew Trafton, Matt Ellingson, Dave Richman, and Travis Lemar. If you missed any of our show, you can podcast it later today at Inforum.com. Everybody have a great hump day. We'll see you back here tomorrow on Hot Mike on WDAY Extra and Inforum.com.